Justice Gorsuch is the latest Supreme Court justice, giving us a reason to question why the Supreme Court are the only federal judges not required to abide by their own code of ethics. My name is Dina Sayegh Doll, reporting for MeidasTouch Network. Let's break this down. So Justice Gorsuch had been trying to sell a piece of property for about 2 years. And a month after he was appointed to the Supreme Court, it sold to the CEO of a major law firm, Greenberg Traurig, which had quite a bit of business in front of the Supreme Court, not as plaintiffs or defendants, but as attorneys. They appeared in front of the Supreme Court. Now, Justice Gorsuch did disclose the sale of the property, but left the name of the new owner blank. So he didn't put the name in there. Now, what he did was not a technical violation of the law, but you do have to question again, why is it that the Supreme Court is not required to have their own code of ethics that they abide by? Now, I don't know if you know, but lawyers in general actually have quite a bit of ethics that they have to abide by. I mean, regardless of federal judges who have their own, but even everyday lawyers. Like the law firm that I used to work with, you couldn't even accept gifts from clients. They considered that maybe possible appearance of impropriety, and so did not allow it. I mean, aside from maybe a token gesture around the holidays, gifts weren't allowed. And also, when I was at a law firm and having dinner with clients that were defense contractors, because they accepted government funding, they wouldn't even accept a dinner from the law firm. They insisted on paying the dinner themselves. Was accepting a dinner a technical violation because they had government money? Or was it just, again, because of the appearance of impropriety? When you are a member, either as an attorney or especially as a judge, and even more especially as a Supreme Court judge, how you conduct yourself, whereas conflicts of interest or even the appearance of a conflict of interest becomes very important. Because if you are the interpreter of the law, your credibility and how you came about interpreting that law is essential. Because you're not elected as a congressperson would. You can elect somebody and decide, hey, I didn't like the way they passed that law. I don't want to vote for them again. But that's not how it works, especially with a Supreme Court judge. This is a lifetime appointment, and you can't vote them out. And it's so important, the credibility of the court. I mean, even Chief Justice Roberts and many of the Supreme Court justices talk about how important it is for there to be credibility, to have the integrity of the court. If the public doesn't buy into their importance and their integrity and their essentially interpretation of the law, then they can't function. So to have a justice sell ownership of their property to a law firm that's going to conduct business in front of the court, even as just legal representatives, and not disclose the name, again, makes people wonder, was there a conflict of interest? If you have to disclose this, it may not necessarily mean that you're going to act a certain way in front of the court, but the disclosure of it takes away any appearance of impropriety. And that is essential because then people can look into the facts themselves. They can dig a little bit deeper. The public has that knowledge and can kind of decide for themselves if they think that conflict is okay for a Supreme Court justice or not. So when Justice Gorsuch did disclose the sale, he didn't disclose who he sold it to, and he just disclosed it as the Walden Group. That was the LLC that he had used to purchase the property. It was his stake along with the stake of a major conservative donor. They had formed this LLC. And so the disclosure really just said the LLC, and it didn't say the ownership. Again, is this enough information for the public to have confidence that he isn't going to have any kind of conflict of interest? Even if this wasn't a violation of the law, clearly, we need better ethical standards for the Supreme Court justices. But it seems that Chief Justice Roberts doesn't agree. He declined the Senate Judiciary Committee's invitation to come and speak around ethical standards for the Supreme Court. And he actually sent a letter that was signed by all 9 justices saying that they have adequately kind of monitoring themselves, essentially. And so all 9 of them are agreeing to this. So it doesn't seem to be like a political divide. You know what? Maybe I want to, have extra ethical standards that I need to abide for also. But, even Supreme Court justices can't be above the law here. How can we ask regular attorneys, regular federal judges to have ethical standards, but not Supreme Court justices? I think if Chief Justice Roberts doesn't become willing to start regulating themselves, they are going to be forced to comply with ethical standards that is passed by one Congress, whether or not it's this Congress or another Congress down the line. It's also an issue as to why it was not a violation of the law and that he didn't disclose who bought the property from him. It's because the Ethics in Government Act passed in 1978 as a result of the Nixon-Watergate scandal, with this idea of trying to make government more ethical, to make it more accountable to the people. It does not require that federal judges disclose who bought real estate from them. And that's an issue because real estate, especially in this day and age, is worth a huge amount of money. And if the idea is to try to hold judges or people in government accountable to the public for any apparent conflict of interest, whether real or just the appearance of one, how do you not disclose who bought real estate? In order to keep the integrity of the courts, which is essential, it is an essential branch of our government. Certainly, Congress should include the sale of real estate, who is buying real estate from judges, as a requirement of disclosure for federal judges.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.